Alright, today I'm going to discuss and demonstrate the simple concept of mobility and stability. I'm going to use the hip as the example, and I'm going to show you just a couple things that you can do to work on this. Now, if we think of something as mobile, we'd say we can move with it, or the tissue or whatever it is that you're referring to is mobile. Now, if you're saying something is stable or it has stability, you would think of strong or without movement. So the two have a relationship, and what you need to do is you need to try to train both ends of the spectrum to complement one another. Nothing can just be purely stable and purely mobile. What you really want is you want a nice kind of even relationship with the two to help each other out, to give each other what they need. Because in life, when we move or when we're playing sports or whatever it is, we need that continuum. We need that relationship to be a healthy one for the right thing at the right time. So I'm going to show you just some simple things in part one here of the hip mobility and stability. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give the hip stability to work on mobility. So I'm going to just hold on to something, and I'm just going to work on the front part of the hip flexor, which is often very crunched up from sitting and doing a lot of things where we kind of pull and we're in this crouched position. So we're going to really work on mobility and stability of the hip flexor in this little demonstration. Alright, so I'm going to grab on to two sides here, which you really can't see. Alright, but I'm giving myself stability so I can really work on mobility at the front of the hip right up here. So I'm just going to get into a preset stance. Alright, holding on. I've got stability right now. Now I'm really going to work on mobility of this front hip flexor, the tissue right up through here. So I'm just going to go up and down. Nice movement. It's nice and controlled. I don't have to worry about my stability because I'm holding on. I've got 4 points of attachment, 2 with my hands and the ground with my feet. So I'm just going to go up and down about 8 to 10. And I want to work on a nice range of motion, and I've got to go with what I'm capable of. So that might be a little bit, that might be a lot. Opposite side, again, up and down. I've got my stability, holding on. I'm really trying to challenge right now my mobility. I'm trying to gain mobility here. There's a continuum. Alright, so now I've gotten my mobility. Alright, I've worked on that part of the hip. I've got mobility there now. I've got a nice safe environment. Now I'm going to go ahead and challenge it right away with a little less stability now. So we're going to challenge stability, and I'm going to work on just that front side of the hip and just a little posterior step, a little posterior lunge. I'm going to change up the variation and how much I reach. Alright, so that was just some simple mobility and stability of the front hip flexor. Alright, now there's primarily 5 different ways we can really work the hip with tons of different attachments coming from the bottom up and from the top down. So it's really important that we train the system together. That was just a very little simple demonstration of mobility and stability of the hip. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to actually start to move with it a little bit in kind of the same demonstration from mobile to stable, but with just a little bit more movement.